Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiskey and Wolves. My name's Evan. I'm the master trainer over at K-Pro K9. Today with me, of course, is my good friend Chris Lamy. He runs K9 Coaching with Chris. And we are here today with Whiskey and Wolves again, debunking the bunk in dog training and giving you a modern perspective from professional dog trainers, in some ways for professional dog trainers and the general public, to make sure that, you guys' questions are getting answered on a regular basis. If you have real questions, and we've seen a couple come in already, those things are on the docket, so to speak. If you have real questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. That stuff's going to be where we get guided and directed going forward.
We want to talk about what you want to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So if you have questions that are like, hey man, what's the real deal with this, or what's the real deal with that, we will do, especially like specific Q&A episodes as well as we go along, to make sure that we're answering everybody's questions as we go. But today, the big thing that we're talking about today is we're talking about the three most important criteria, probably in my mind, three best criteria for choosing your next dog, right? And so, but before we get into that, right, we have to introduce a new whiskey today, right?
This is exciting. This is the first one that one of us hasn't actually brought because it's a favorite.
Right.
So we get to try a new whiskey.
This is fresh today. And I'm going to assume, based on marketing alone, that this is probably dope. However, I will tell you that I have been fooled before, right? So we're going to find out today if it's good. This is Dead Guy Whiskey by Rogue Spirits on their website, man. I'm not going to tell you I know anything about this whiskey, right? So on their website, they say, hey, man.
So you just saw the bottle, thought it looked cool, and
I did, man. I looked at this dead guy that had like a little pine cone on his head, and I was like, I got to try that whiskey.
And I know I don't want to steal your thunder, but it does say on the bottle here, ocean aged bottles for at least 2 years. I'm very interested to see if you can taste some ocean. So here's
what it says on their website. They say, our award-winning American single malt whiskey is pot distilled from 100% malted barley at our distillery on the Oregon coast. The climate in Newport, Oregon is mild, and the fresh ocean air is perfect for whiskey to breathe as it ages, a process we call ocean aging. This unique process imparts the smooth, rich, dead guy taste that this whiskey is known for.
Say dead guy taste?
Yeah, well, or maybe I misread it, but either way, I like dead guy taste better than whatever else I could have read. It is a 40% ABV, so it's like an 80 proof deal in a 750
So that's interesting.
bottle.
Like whiskey, you think Kentucky, right? Tennessee,
bourbon
Oregon.
for sure, right? But this is more like an American whiskey, right? So like one of my other favorite American whiskeys.
Get any more American than Oregon? Huh?
I mean, come on, right? But Oregon Trail, let's go. Oh, poor Donner Party. Anyway, the point is that this stuff here, right, is just really interesting as American whiskey. One of my favorite American whiskeys is actually this whiskey called Tin Cup. It's not super expensive, but dang, is it tasty.
I don't know if I've had Tin Cup.
Oh, I will make sure that you do. Yeah, I'll make sure that you do. And so without further ado, man, let's see if we can get this thing uncorked. I'm going to see if I can do it with one hand here briefly. Nope. We're going to have to go in with two. Totally cool. Oh.
Can I take a second to appreciate the fact that you always have the circular ice cubes too? I don't understand how I go to a restaurant and ask for a whiskey or an old fashioned and get ice cubes. It's like you can send that back.
Yeah.
Bring me a vodka.
Yeah. I'm gonna need one solid cube.
Yep.
But I even get weirder at restaurants, if I'm dead honest, and I'm gonna pour this while we chat.
Absolutely.
Right. But I even get weirder at restaurants where I'm like, actually, can you just bring me two of your little trash ice cubes? Like the ones that you get out of the, underneath the bar. If you can just put two in there to cool it off, that's pretty much all I'm really looking for. But again, guys, this is Dead Guy Whiskey from Rogue Spirits. This is an American whiskey. And so I put him on backwards. Let's not do that. Hold on. Oh, all right. There he is. He sits perfectly now. All right.
Cheers, my man.
Cheers, my friend. All right. To a good episode. It's kind of nutty.
Huh.
It
is nutty. That's a very...
It's nice, but it's almost got like a little bit of a peanut or hazelnut flavor on the backside.
Like usually with bourbons, whiskeys, you get that harsh burn, not harsh, but like harsh burn.
You get a lot of smoke, right?
This is like nuttier and lighter. I'm not mad at that at all.
No, I could drink that. And in fact, I believe we're about to.
I believe we will.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's move on to today's topic, right? So
this is a really cool topic.
I'm a big fan of this topic. It's one of the most frequent questions that we get at K-Pro. I'm sure you guys get it all the time over K9
It's one of the questions I wish I got more.
Yeah.
To be honest, we get a lot of questions calling in, and I wish it would be more proactive and saying, hey, I'm getting a dog. What should I look for? Rather than, hey, I got this dog.
Man,
now what?
I tell people all the time whenever they call me, especially so we get calls for service dog stuff, right? So we do like a lot of service dog work, and we get calls for service dog stuff where people are like, hey, what kind of dog should I get? Or I'm thinking about getting this dog for service dog work because I think it would be cool. Well, what do you need it for? How does that work out? Like, there's lots of criteria, and we're going to talk about, 3 really solid ideas around getting your next dog today, of course. But like some of that is, and some of the kind of advice that I've given in the past is, man, call me before you get a dog, not after.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like call a trainer before and ask them, describe the purpose, describe your desire, describe your lifestyle.
And many people may not even think about that, right? We have the 3 criteria. We have lifestyle, purpose, and desire, all of which we're going to kind of walk through today. Lifestyle, I think, is by far the most important. I
would agree.
But I also think that when choosing a dog, most people, I would assume, start with desire. Oh, I've always wanted a husky. I've always wanted a Rottweiler. I've always wanted a Great Dane.
Pretty,
right?
That's the one I hear.
Have you seen Australian Shepherd puppies? They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. But does it fit into your lifestyle, and does their purpose fit into what your lifestyle is?
Right. One of the things I hear most often is, man, the dog was so cute, I just couldn't leave him where he was. Right. And I'm like,
absolutely. Look, I've been there.
What did you
I've
get
taken
for
dogs
that,
home like that. Absolutely. I've walked through shelters. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're not staying
100%. Right. So like your lifestyle, and again, you walk through them, right? Lifestyle. Let's start there. What does lifestyle have to do with it?
Lifestyle is everything, right? But when we talk about lifestyle, we want to be very, very purposeful and very honest with what our lifestyle is today, not what we want our lifestyle to be, right? We bag on Malinois all the time, right? I think Malinois are great.
I mean, Malinois are fantastic. We don't bag on them necessarily.
But if you live in an apartment and you work 9 to 5 and you come home and you're not the exercising type, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Just you don't have any business getting a Malinois.
Right. That's probably not the breed for you.
Your lifestyle just doesn't match with what that dog needs.
Or a border collie.
Border collies are arguably the most intelligent of the breeds, but that intelligence comes with a cost, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And that it takes you and it takes your lifestyle to keep that dog actively engaged so that they can have a healthy and happy lifestyle.
Sure. What about a greyhound?
Oh, yeah. So greyhound and whippets, I kind of match those two together.
Yeah, put sighthounds together. Sure. Salukis, greyhounds, whippets.
They were born to run. Right. And so if you don't have the space for them, right? Again, an apartment, and I'm not bagging on anybody that lives in an apartment. I've lived in plenty of apartments.
No, it just may not be the time for you in your life to own one of these breeds.
Right. If you don't have the space for them, and again, it's more, and we're going to get into like, to their purpose and what they were built for, and what they have telling them to do.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't fit into what you have to offer as an owner, then you're setting yourself up for failure potentially.
To your point, right? Like, honesty about the way that you live, how you engage, how you live your life. Be really honest with yourself in choosing a dog first and go, hey, what do I have to give the dog? We often think of this very selfishly, I think, in our society, right? Like, what does the dog bring to me? What does the dog give to me?
I want dog ownership, right? I own that dog. That's
right. So what does it give to me, right? Like, and sometimes we see dogs and we're like, oh my God, that dog is so beautiful. I must have it, right? Like we were talking about this a little bit ahead of time, and I was saying, hey, my dog Phantom is a beautiful sable chestnut, gorgeous, Malinois. He's an absolutely gorgeous dog. And when people meet him in public, he often kind of comes off as a ringer, right? Like he's not the typical Mal experience for most people. He is a Malinois. He's full bred. We've done his embark panel and found his relatives and done all the things, because I kind of got him in an unconventional way. Like I didn't buy him from a traditional breeder. A guy was looking to just kind of get rid of him in some ways, right?
Somebody was getting rid of him?
Yeah, $150 dog, that dog. Right?
That's
turned into
win.
like a $60,000
Yeah, that's
dog.
a win.
Right? It was a killer win for me, right? But like just, wasn't in the right place in space and life for it. And not that there was anything wrong with that guy that I got it from.
Good for him.
Great guy,
good for him. I've caught some flack for people rehoming dogs.
And he knew, hey, look, man, this wasn't, to your point, he knew like, I can't give this pup what he needs at this point, right?
And you're putting yourself and that dog into a bad situation,
right,
into a failing situation.
Right. And so he ended up kind of rehoming him with me, right? And don't get me wrong, I paid for the investment that he had in the dog. Like technically speaking, I bought that dog for $500 because like I covered his vet bills. You know what I mean? I covered his vet bills. Absolute steal. Are you kidding me? Like this is my everyday for like the last almost 7 years. And that dog's a fantastic dog. And so whenever he comes over and he sits down next to you and he looks up and waits to be petted, people go, "Oh, this is Malinois ownership." And I go, no. He lives with a master trainer that's been training dogs for 27 years almost. Like don't take this for what that is, right? Additionally, he lives on acreage, right? So he gets his full run every day. He gets to run through.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. He gets to run through swales full of water and through a pond if he wants to. He drinks out of the pond every day. He lives a dog lifestyle in many, many ways that can tend to be very enriching. And so like, again, when we're talking about like, what is it really specifically that you bring to the table instead of what the dog brings?
And that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about lifestyle as one of these three things. What do you have to offer this dog?
Right.
And again, we talk pretty feverishly and purposely about being honest with how much time do you have to give to this dog? Right. Right. Not only how much time do you have,
but how much space?
But how much space do you have? Yeah. And how much time are you willing to give to that dog? How much space are you willing to donate? Right. Donate or set aside for that dog. Yeah. We talked about this last week in our show. And it's cute as hell when I pull up in your driveway here. You have a big patch of grass with like half of it mowed and half of it like trails, right? And it's so that Phantom can go out there and like
do
trail run and do scent work, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that not everybody needs to do, right?
Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's also for the pollinators. You know what I mean?
So I have a pollination pile that I've started at my house.
I love that.
I love it. It's just all my weeds that grow the. Anyway, I'm getting.
But even so, right?
Now.
Like the reality is that like I have very specifically, and this is more to your point, and again, I agree. Not everybody needs to do this, but I have curated space around my home specifically designed for the psychology of my animals, right? So like, we see this in herpetology, right? Where like people keep snakes and reptiles and that kind of thing, right? They always want to design a terrarium that's most like their natural environment.
Yes.
I look at the couple acres I live on like a giant terrarium for my dogs.
And you hit on something very important, right? The mental aspects of what your dog needs.
Agreed.
Not just physically. We talk about greyhound and whippets. Yes, they have a physical need
but they need to run,
right?
Yeah,
but you
run
get
after something.
Border collie. You get Australian shepherd. These dogs that were bred to be problem solvers, if you will. And bred to be thinkers and think through problems. Think about what you need to be mentally processing to herd 500 sheep. Right. Right. Your mental cognition is active all the time. And so it's not just what can you offer this dog physically, what can you offer this dog to keep them mentally engaged as well, which is a very important aspect of what we're talking about.
I think it's one of the more important aspects, right? I agree. Is when we look at, we wrote, hey, what's the honesty and change, right? Like a lot of people get into this and they go, okay, yeah, I want to change for this. I want to change for that. But have you really considered that when you get a German Shepherd dog, the nature of being a shepherd means that they're herding, right? Mm-hmm. Like they shepherd sheep, they shepherd goats, and I've got a friend of mine that runs, Tidewater herding group up in, Virginia, in southeastern Virginia. And like her German Shepherds really do herd.
I've never seen a German Shepherd herd. That's cool.
Dude, I got videos for you.
That's
okay.
Cool.
After this, remind me and I will send you, her, and I'll give her a quick shout out.
We focus in on so many of their other jobs that, you're right. We forget that. Originally, you're a shepherd,
right? I will give a quick shout out to my friend Christine because and if she's watching this, she knows exactly. I love Christine. You. You're fantastic, and also I'm so impressed with what you've done with your line of German Shepherds over the last few years. It's just she was trained with me, right? But like before that, she was heavily involved in rescue work for German Shepherds and a bunch of other things. She's been an advocate for years, and like her dogs really do. Really do. Herd very well.
That's very cool.
Ducks, sheep, geese, all kinds of things.
And so when that comes to brings us to a very good point, right? Mm-hmm. We'll kind of make this little transition from lifestyle and what you have to offer the dog to purpose. What do you have to offer the dog with your lifestyle versus what is the purpose of that dog? What were they bred for? What have they been used for hundreds and thousands of years? 100%. And more importantly, does that purpose or can that purpose fit into what you have to offer in your lifestyle? Right?
Agreed.
Can you fit a German Shepherd who has been bred for thousands and thousands of years to shepherd or to protect or to, alert when someone is there? Are you okay with your lifestyle to take the time to say, hey, bud, I don't need you for that.
Yeah.
Please stop barking. Right? Yeah. Because it's in there. Their instincts. I get one of my most challenging questions, I guess, is like, hey, can you train this out of my dog? Like, maybe.
Right.
But why?
One of the ways that I answer that all the time, hey, can you train this out of my dog? Well, depends, right? So to your point, maybe, right? If it's genetically predisposed, Denise Fenzi, I'll give all the credit where credit's due, right? Denise Fenzi, very, very famous dog trainer.
Yeah.
Like school for dog trainers, all kinds of stuff. Denise Fenzi says, hey man, we can turn genetic predispositions down.
Can't turn them off.
But not off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. And so like, if your dog's genetically predisposed, and this gets into breed type, right? Like, we've got working breeds, we've got hound breeds, we've got livestock guardian breeds, we've got companion breeds.
Ratters, the dogs that were built 100%. To rat out.
Absolutely. Pests. Terriers, right? Terriers, right? So like we've got a whole line of terrier breeds out there, right? So when we look at some of these things, like what was the purpose, the original purpose? And I think that's really important to understand is what was the original purpose of the animal? It's
not only important, but it's intelligent, right?
Sure.
It's hey, this is what this dog's intelligence is telling it to do. And each dog has a very high intelligence.
Natural intelligence,
right? So if you can do a little bit of research beforehand, and that's really kind of what we're getting at here, right? Is if you can do a little bit of research and say, okay, this is what I have to offer. How can I match that with a Jack Russell Terrier or thank you, or whatever.
Mini Malinois.
How do I match what I have to offer with the instincts of what a dog has already been asked to do, so that we can emphasize the natural and innate traits that they have.
Well, and take this for what it is. I mean, there's a dog sport for every breed.
There you go. Yeah.
And so like, if you're really engaged in, and this goes back to lifestyle, who cares for the dog? Like what's going on? How much time and money and influence do we have to spend on the dog? Right. Like take it for what it is. I'm the Malinois guy in my house. If you ask my wife will very clearly tell you that she's a bulldog kind of girl, right?
I am too.
She's a curl up on the couch, watch an afternoon of TV, rainy outside, with a glass of wine and her bulldog snoring in her lap. it's beautiful to see whenever you really hang out with it, right? But like, I also have like a lot of Malinois energy, as
Yes,
you
you
well know,
do.
right? Like, I'm like, man, I can never really stop moving. You know, after we're done here today, like, chances of me probably doing a little bite work later and catching some dogs on, you know, bite sleeves and that kind of thing. Hey, it's a non-zero idea.
I'm gonna
right?
go home and take a nap.
I look,
I'm more like a hound type dog.
And so this is important, right? Because like, you know what, man, I could see you as a hound guy, dude. This is
minus the barking.
Let's walk that out. I'm gonna walk that out 3 seconds, right? So like, a fairly independent spirit,
yeah,
right? Good self starter. When working,
when motivated,
when working, willing to work all day for something you desire.
Absolutely.
You know what, Chris? I think you are.
But when it's time to be lazy, oh boy, am I good at that too.
You're like, I Wendell all the way out. If you've ever seen Tiny Toons, you know who Wendell is. Like, you know, this was a Basset Hound. He was a Basset Hound that had all the wrinkles and all the flop. Right? Like, he would just pull himself down. You know what I mean? Too good, man. And so, yeah, I think you are. I think you're a little bit of a hound guy, man.
A little bit. Yeah. I like the laziness. Again, I don't like the howling. But that, again, that's part of what they are, right? They think about what hounds were made for.
Absolutely.
And the breed of hound can be pretty wide.
Because we got sight hounds and we got scent hounds. These are two different ideas.
Right.
What you're talking about very specifically is like a scent hound idea.
But what about what have they been bred to do, right? Hey, find this thing and let me know when you find it.
Yeah, but that looks all the way back. Take this for what it is. I really like this about you. It's one of my favorite things, right? You went to law school. You're looking for the truth.
Yes.
You hound dog.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Bro, like,
touche.
Like, no
like
joke,
that.
right? Like that's some of that money in there, right? That you're like, dude, you don't understand. Like, you know, I'm really looking for the truth. I'm trying to suss out the reality of life, right? I agree, man. I think you're kind of a hound guy.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of, that's why I like this topic so much, right? Let's get to the truth of what your dog is. What does your dog have to offer, and does it fit into what you offer? And you hit on something really important too. Who cares, right? Who in the family? If you are living alone versus a house of four, right?
Paying back on lifestyle,
who is going to be the one that takes the dog out to go potty? Who's going to teach that dog to be comfortable in the kennel? Who's going to be responsible for going on walks, right?
Man,
who's going to pay the vet bills?
You got me kind of like spinning my own wheels over here, right? Because I get these calls all the time where I have parents, and well-meaning parents, good parents, right? Who are like, oh, I got a dog for my kid. It's my kid's dog. No, it's not. All right.
How old is your kid?
Yeah, right.
There's
take it for what it is.
That's a big difference between a 9-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 25-year-old.
Yeah, but hear me out. From 5 years old to anywhere before 18, right? That's still your dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, if you think for some reason, hey, I got this dog, and it's going to teach my kid responsibility.
Which it can.
Only if your kid acquiesces to the idea, right? Only if your kid is malleable to the idea that, hey, this could be a thing in my life, right? Like, outside of that, right? You know, like, there's no reason to think that your kid is going to want to take care of whatever you gave it. Your kid won't cut the grass. You know what I mean?
And that goes back to the honesty portion of your lifestyle, right?
Exactly.
Is your 16-year-old kid going to actually take the time to do what he or she
100%.
Said what she's going to do? Sonny, my golden retriever.
I'm so jealous.
That I owned when I was in Long Beach growing up. I was 16 years old. I was the first dog I ever owned. And my parents were pissed when I brought that dog home, right? Because I was a 16-year-old kid who didn't know shit. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to train this dog.
Tell me more.
And I actually did. I actually really did take the responsibility of teaching Sonny how to potty and everything. He was my dog completely.
Yep.
But if you don't have a 16-year-old or 26-year-old or 9-year-old, whatever, that is not going to do that, then understand that you need to be honest with yourself that, no, this is your dog.
It's your dog.
This is yours.
Right?
I also have the opposite, actually. You said about people buying dogs for their kids.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I have found very interesting is kids buying dogs for their parents when they get older and they get elderly, right?
Yeah. Well, they need something to get them up.
I think there's a lot of benefits as long as you are following these 3 criteria, right?
Right.
Is this dog that you are picking out going to fit into your mom or dad's lifestyle? I have one particular client whose son, she was an older woman, wonderful woman. She was a part of NASA when it came about.
I love that. Yeah.
Her husband, who passed, was a general or a colonel in the Army Special Forces. Amazing.
Folks who know what's going on.
Amazing woman, right?
Yeah.
But her son, very in all the good spirits and all the with all the best intentions, bought her a German Shepherd. Right? This woman had no business having a German Shepherd. It didn't fit her lifestyle.
Zero business.
Just no business. The dog was digging. It was barking. It was doing all these things. And she's like, Chris, I just want to relax, bud. It's like, this dog doesn't fit your lifestyle.
Look, German Shepherds are probably one of the most misfit breeds.
Misfit. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is in my experience over all the time that I've been training dogs, German Shepherds are one of those breeds that people buy because this is the best breed.
Because they've seen Rin Tin Tin?
Right, because they've seen Rin Tin Tin or they've seen a movie somewhere and oh my gosh, these dogs are so cool. And the police use them. And and the military uses them. And it kind of what Malinois are going through now, right? Yeah. As a breed type, right? Like all these ideas of what this should be, right? And these are misfit into lifestyles, misfit for purpose, right?
Because they don't understand how the two match, how
because
the purpose and the lifestyle match, right?
Or ready, like how much training went into that dog before you saw it?
That's a very good point. Some of these dogs, German Shepherds, are a very good point, right? German Shepherds can be amazing house dogs.
Yeah.
If you have the time and space to put into them.
Not only that, but like what line of German Shepherd? So I'm gonna get down this road on breeding real quick, right quick for like breed type, right? So like when we talk about breeding, it's not just this is a German Shepherd. German Shepherds are German Shepherds across the board.
Not at all.
Because you have these, in German Shepherd specifically, and I'm kind of a Shepherd guy, like I'm a Mal guy, right? Like I'm kind of a Shepherd guy too, right? When you look at these dogs, understanding where they came from, what their lines were bred for, how they worked is massively important. Labs, funny enough, fit into this category too.
I agree.
I'm going to get into it.
You see some hyper labs and then some lazy
bad ones, right? So, and so like, here's the idea. And whenever I say bad, I don't mean like the dog's bad.
Yeah,
I'm
bad
just like,
bad.
Right. But take this for what it is, right? So like whenever we look at Shepherds, we look at DDR line Shepherds, which is the Deutsches Democratic Republic line, right? This is old East German line. So those of you who are watching that are old enough, like I am, like Chris is, to have watched the Berlin Wall come down, right?
I'm not that old, am I?
These are, yes, you are.
Yeah, maybe.
You are. Yes, you are, son.
My body feels that old.
Listen, I was there watching it on TV. It was a thing, right? But I was a kid. You were a couple years younger than me, but it still happened in our lifetime. And these were the dogs. This was the line of German Shepherd that they used on the east side of the Berlin Wall, right? Another one, and those dogs are characterized by almost kind of like this reverse eyeshadow around the eyes.
But what were they bred to do?
And here's the deal. They're working dogs.
There you go.
They are a German Shepherd with the heart of a Malinois, right? They are the German Shepherd that like nobody outside of the working dog community
that the
wants
special forces are paying for.
That's the absolutely
versus
that's
like
the dog they're paying
the actual
for.
shepherding dogs from your friend you mentioning earlier.
You know what I mean? These are different
same
ideas.
Breed, very different
ideas, right? And then we have these check line German Shepherds, right? And being in the military, I
was going to say, God, they're beautiful.
Man, they're gorgeous.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And they're characterized by like a little, they'll have like a brown paw, and down their toes, they'll have like a little, what we call penciling, right? Which is like a little dark line.
So the checks are known a little more for the longer hair, if I'm correct.
In
right?
some ways, they can have a little extra tufts around the ears and some other things. But the one way that I'm sure almost 100% of the time that I'm looking at a Czech Shepherd is that they have this penciling on the toes where they have like a little black line that runs down the front of every one
They
of
all
their
have
little
it, huh?
toes. Almost all of them.
Huh.
I mean, like in a Czech Shepherd line, it's really very common. Now, don't get me wrong, not all every time, of course, right? Because like absolutes are not a thing we do in dogs.
Not at all.
You know,
Just like people.
But yeah, of course, right? But like, you know, most of these dogs do that. Just like most of these old DDR line dogs have this kind of lighter fur. This almost sometimes it even burgeons onto blonde in a black mask around their eyes. It's a reverse kind of eyeshadow, right? And so these dogs in German Shepherds were like, man, chances are you're getting a working dog. And if you want a house dog and you're getting a working dog, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
So can I tell you a short story?
Hit me.
That is not off topic, but
dude,
so we're talking about breeding, right? The military has a breeding program as well. It's out of San Antonio, Texas.
Let's go.
Right. And so all of the military not all of the military, but most of the dogs that go into military service are now bred out of San Antonio, Texas.
Agreed.
They still get some working breeds from the places that you talk about, especially the special forces.
I was going to say there's about 6 or 8 breeders that I know of nationwide that, you know, some of these guys, special forces guys specifically, will go find a dog that is a really, really super high drive dog, sport line dog almost.
And there's teams that go over there and select certain dogs. But anyway, my story, and I'll get to it quick and we can move on. But a couple of years ago, 2017, I was sitting in the LSU Law School library, and a friend of mine, Eric Smith, called me. And he was working at San Antonio, Texas, and he knew a buddy down there that was working in the breeding program. And he said, "Hey, man, I got something really cool to tell you." I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, he was actually in Africa at the time. Not that really matters, but
sure.
Anyway, the breeding program, they go through names, right? They go A to Z, and they name them. So if their name is the first name, say it's Akeem, right? It's AAKEEM or whatever it is. If it's Chris, it's
100%.
CCHRS. If it's Evan, it's EE, right? That's how you know it's a dog that came from Lackland or a puppy program dog. Yeah. Anyway, they named a dog in 2017. They named a dog Kitty, KKITTI, after my kitty, Juliet 296.
No way.
In the same year that, you know, ABCD, all the way JKL, they were, Lamy was actually on the docket as well.
No way.
And they passed it up. Yes. So there is a Malinois that was a breeder she actually became a breeding dog at Lackland named Kitty. And she retired, about 3 years ago.
Right.
She retired out of the breeding program. And she was, you know, Kitty's namesake. And so when she retired, they called me and they said, "Hey, this dog who was named after your dog is retiring. Do you want her?"
Right.
What do you think I said? Absolutely fucking not.
Nope. Right. Like, I don't need a working dog in my life right now. Like, I'm doing this whole other thing.
You have
now,
a Malinois that is breeding other Malinois. Good luck.
Have fun.
No, I'm very,
and don't get me wrong. I'm, you know, like I had on our team for a little while, I had an Air Force working dog handler, right? Who did bring a dog home. You know, his name was Diego. Fantastic dog. Met him. He was a Dutchie, you know, great dog. Right. But that's not every working dog.
It is not. My kitty stayed with me for 2 years.
There's this idea, right? Like when we get back to purpose, right? Like there's this idea that like, if we love a dog enough, right? Like every dog's cool the same way.
Sure. Oh yeah. Every dog has amazing qualities.
Sure.
Just like every human has amazing qualities.
Sure. But like sometimes just like with humans, there are exigent factors, right? That like really pour into that idea. One of my favorite movies, and take this for what it is, as a dog trainer, I don't say this lightly, right? But like one of my favorite movies is actually that Channing Tatum movie, Dog. Right.
Haven't ever been able to watch it.
Look, you need to go watch that movie.
Haven't been able to watch it.
But here's the idea is that not only do they walk through the handlers trauma, right? Trauma on the backside of service. But they also walk through the dogs. Right.
So that's something we haven't talked about.
Right.
How much trauma dogs actually hold on to.
Right.
Oh,
But hear me out. Like, let's stay on topic today. Let's walk through like, how do we find the right dog for us?
Another day, another topic.
Another topic. Right. But like that breed type, and that's what we've been talking about. That breed type is so massively important. How does that breed fit into your family life? Right? What was that breed bred for? I get a lot of folks that call me and they're like, oh, I wanted a Weimaraner, right? And I'm like, bred for hunting bulls and bears. Great idea.
Or for whining.
Right? Or for whining, right? Or, like, hey, I'm
not mad at you, Weinereimers, but.
Weinereimers. Oh, no.
Weinereimers.
Oh, no. You didn't. Oh no. Anyway, but like we also
I said it fast enough.
No, it's good, man. I got you. I'm here for it. But like we also have these other breeds of dogs, right? Like, oh, I have a Springer Spaniel and it won't stop chasing things. Well, I wonder why.
Huh, weird.
Right?
Yeah.
I
love Springers.
I have an American Pit Bull Terrier and it's dog aggressive. Oh, well, like we should probably look at what that dog was originally bred for to understand the genetics.
I have a bulldog that makes a mess when it eats.
I have a bulldog that's even better. I have a bulldog that's animal aggressive. Oh, big surprise. Well, they were, circa 1835, they were bred for, literally bull baiting. And if you don't know what that is, horrific idea, absolutely horrific. Where it was another blood sport, right? Where people bet on, these dogs,
And that's a very unfortunate part of our history.
Sure.
But it is important.
But it's true.
Right. And you and I have talked very, very briefly about the drives of dogs, right? Defense drive, prey drive, and pack drive, stuff like that. And
five basic drives, full ideas.
Is one of the ones that I believe dogs have. And I think that kind of goes to that is you have certain dogs that unfortunately have been bred for that unfortunate purpose.
Well, take it for what it is, right? Like genetic predispositions are so real that you can look at a 6-week-old litter of Malinois puppies and they will be biting you. Right?
Like crazy.
Like they will be biting
baby
you.
Whether velociraptors with hair.
Yeah. Like whether or not you want them to, that is no longer a consideration in the standpoint.
They're gonna look cute doing it.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're going to look like little teeny little fruit bats just grabbing the crap out of you. It's going to be super cute. It's going to be super annoying all at the same time. Right. Meanwhile, right. Like some of these dogs, also whenever we're looking at purpose, right. Like most people who call me and they're like, hey, so I want a great family dog. What should I choose? Right. One of the answers that I have for folks all the time, by and large, I would say probably 95% or better. Just go get a golden retriever.
Love Goldens.
Don't let your ego stop you from getting something that you think is cute and fluffy, right? So this is directly to dads and dudes at home, right? In a lot of ways, right? Because like this is, I mean, take it for what it is, guys. I'm very inclusive, but chief offenders, right? Are dads who are like, but I want a tough dog. I want a Rottweiler.
Okay. I love Rottweilers. Right? I knew you were going to say that. I think Rottweilers are one of the best dogs. But
I think they're fantastic.
But I agree with your sentiment.
Right.
Kind of, completely.
It's like, hey, listen, even though these dogs are wicked cool and some of them can be awesome, right? Like, get a dog that was born happy and will probably die happy. You know what I mean?
Well, and also, and this kind of goes back to our theme. Let's be honest about, you say, what I want a good family dog.
Sure.
Okay. Tell me about your family.
Right.
Right. Do you have 3 kids? How old are they? Do you have infants? Do you have a 3-year-old that's learning to crawl versus do you have a 15-year-old that wants to help take that dog out on runs?
How much time do you spend hiking? How much time do you spend on a boat? How much time do you spend in the city?
And how much time is that kid of yours or other family members? How much time are they going to be able to devote?
And this gets into the idea, and I think that this is massively important for families. Gets into the idea of collective decisions.
Yes.
A dog should be a collective decision for a family. I will tell you personal story briefly, right?
Sure.
Personal story. The Malinois Phantom aforementioned in this podcast, right? Many, many times we will probably reference this.
We're going to have to let him sit up here with us.
We should, right? Like he can just hang out. But like this dog was not a collective decision in my house, right? And when my wife came home from deployment, because my wife, 21-year veteran from naval service, right? Like 21-year veteran. She's been retired now a couple of years. really, really fantastic woman. I married her, so had to be top notch. But when she came home and she had a Malinois in her house, she had no real clue what I got her into.
Yeah. That's
right?
exactly what I was going to say.
On the other hand, we've got this little bulldog, Siege, right? Is her name, right? And Siege was a collective decision amongst the entire family, right? So this is the dog that sleeps in bed every night with my kid. This is the dog that my wife wants to hang out and drink wine with on the couch. This is the dog that also, funny enough, like I've done a fair amount of bite work with, right? Like she's a lot of fun
that.
dog.
Oh, I love seeing that. I love seeing that girl on there.
Dude,
God,
I'm
that's
telling
cool.
you, she's a lot of fun as a dog.
But
and
the whole family is involved.
It was a collective decision.
And everybody takes ownership.
Right. And here's the deal that fit the collective, that fit the collective purpose, right? Like, hey, listen, I wanted a dog that was going to be a great guard dog. You know, as well as I do, that to this day, I will tell you that I have 2 Belgian Malinois and 1 Pacific Bulldog in my home, right? Like, so Pacific Bulldog is kind of like a bougie breed of bulldog. Don't get me wrong. And I highly recommend it, but
she's amazing.
She's a really cool dog. Great. She breathes freely. She whelps freely. She's an athletic dog, and she's only like 45 pounds, which is also like beautiful size of an animal. Right. But as well as I do that she's like the best guard dog I have as a guard dog.
Oh yeah.
She's the first one to light up. She's the first one to alert. She's the first one to be like, hey, I don't know who's here. Right. She's the first one to engage.
Every time I come in, explain yourself.
Right. Say your name.
You're a friend? Okay. All right. We're cool.
Oh, friend. Say friend or foe. Right. Like she's the first one to kind of light up. Right. Because,
there's
that's
a
who she
reason
is.
For that.
Exactly.
Right?
Because there's a genetic predisposition there. Right. And so like, when we talk about breed type and we talk about what was that breed for, right? This particular breed of bulldog was bred to have drive. But the idea here is that we were talking about breed type. We were talking about family life and collective decisions, right? Holding boundaries as humans is also important, right? And so like looking at somebody that you're family with and had my wife been home to say, hey, maybe we don't have a Malinois. Maybe I wouldn't have one today, right? Has he been a massive value add to our family? I believe he has. I think that she would answer yes, he definitely has.
She's not shaking her head no.
She's not. She's in the room, guys. Right? But like, the reality is that, like he's been a really solid value add in a lot of ways. But like, had she gone, you know what, dude, like I'm just not super comfy with that. Maybe I should have given that pause. So,
I got 2 things to say real quick.
Yeah.
You bragged on your wife again. So I'm going to take this moment yet again to say, guys, girls, people, if y'all have any idea if you have any inkling on what it's like to join the military and what it's like to experience the military, goodness gracious.
No, are we going to point to shape-shifting up here, man?
I'm on page 22. Yeah. I had to put it away.
Look,
I texted them I was at a restaurant. I was at Chimney's restaurant in Gulfport, Mississippi, reading it, and I had to put it away. I was crying so hard. It's amazing.
So for those of you who are listening to this today and they don't really know what's going on, my wife just released a book, that is called Shapeshifting. Her name is Heather Stewart. She's the author of the book. And it is a poetry memoir of her 21 years in naval service. And what I will tell you is, having been a Marine, looking at an airman, right? Like, hey, listen, like this is pretty universally applicable and it's amazing.
The way she captured the emotion, I was telling her this beforehand, but the way she captured the emotions of what she was going through at the particular time. Again, I'm only on page 22, but I've seen like, oh yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about right here.
Right. Because
it's incredible.
We know, right?
It's incredible.
I'll tell you again, briefly, because we need to get back on topic, right? But like briefly, she got a message from someone that she served with the other day that essentially said this: when people ask me what it's like, I hand them your book now.
I'm doing the same thing to my mom. My mom wanted to join the Navy and wasn't able to. I'm buying a book for her today to give to her.
And take it for what it is, guys. You can find that book. Again, the book's titled Shapeshifting. You can find it everywhere books are sold.
Amazing. Second thing I want to say, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we talked about, what is everyone's role in this in your family, right? And be honest with that. Everything we've talked about thus far is accurate. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the other side.
Sure.
Right? What does this do for your family? Right?
100%.
What does sitting down and saying, hey, wife, husband, son, daughter, hey, we are going to make this decision together and we are going to take care of this other creature together and we are going to teach this creature how to fit into our home, right? There are so many lessons that dogs can teach us as individuals.
I agree.
And as family members, and especially if we have kids in the house, right? Especially if I think anywhere after 12 is probably a good age where they can actually start understanding, starting to participate and starting to have some amount of responsibility for another living creature.
I would agree.
And the amount of responsibility that teaches, patience, right? Empathy, all of these things. We're talking about what you have to offer and what the dog has to offer. Let's not forget what it offers collectively, right? But back to the point, be honest about what everyone's role is going to be. Who's paying for those vet bills?
Right.
Who's taking that dog for a walk every night?
Because
who's going to teach it how to be comfortable in a kennel?
Real quick, man, let's not BS, right? Like whoever's paying for the vet bills, that's your dog, bro. That's like you can be like, that's my daughter's dog.
Nothing
and I
is
pay
cheap
for that
anymore.
Dog, right?
Nothing is cheap.
Like I get this all the time. Oh, it's my daughter's dog. My dog, like my daughter does all the taking care of it, but I actually pay the bills, right? Like legally speaking, at least here in the United States and in at least the contiguous 48, and you could probably jump in on this, right? But if you pay the bills for that dog, chances are that's your dog legally.
The law is a little
sissy on there.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Especially the dog
legislators
law.
don't know how to legislate, do they?
Yeah, they do not.
They really don't. All right, cool beans. Hey, look, at least now we all know worldwide where we are on that.
We want to have we want to have a whole podcast on Chris's thoughts on the law.
Unfortunate.
We can do that, but you're not going to talk much. You're going to sit there just oh man. This guy's fucking crazy.
No, I bet not. I bet I sit there and I go, let me ask you the next question. I want to know the next thing, right? Because I have never, 27 years of doing this. You're the only dog trainer I've ever known that's gone to law school, right? And then chosen, hey, listen, that wasn't the route for me. This is. And
I thought it was an accident for a long time. My dad thought I was a moron for not practicing law. Like you did all that school and then
you're not going to go
and you have a mullet. Whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, that education served me very, very well.
I think that's probably true.
Made me kind of angry, but it served me very well.
Sure.
And we talked about that too. I think dog trainers, at least in my mind, are if you're a very good dog trainer. Not that you need to be educated by any means, but you have to have an intelligence about you. You have to, right? Because you are, our job is to communicate with another species.
I agree.
Most humans don't know how to communicate with other humans properly.
I agree. And take this for what it is. That level of discord, right, has reminded me of kind of like that last portion of purpose that we've dug into, right? So like that last portion of purpose, I actually wrote down in my notes for this episode, like, beware the gifted dog.
You did.
And I don't mean the dog that's smarter than every other dog that you've ever found, right? But like when we talk about purpose, right? Getting back on that topic, when we talk about purpose, beware the dog that was given as a gift. Right? We have kids that give gifts to parents. We have parents that give gifts to children. We have husbands and wives that give gifts to each other of dogs. Christmas puppies, right? Christmas puppies.
Hey, this is yours now. Good luck.
Yeah, Christmas puppies come with like a whole lot of, oh my gosh, initial excitement and a whole bunch on the back.
And then come March, you're like, what in the
am I doing?
World is this dog doing here?
I will tell you that as a dog trainer, traditionally, my busiest months of the year happen in the springtime. March and April,
February, March,
are
April,
smashed,
absolutely,
right?
because
Smashed
of the Christmas
full
puppies.
of folks, because
Absolutely.
Christmas puppies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been on another program over the last couple of months, right? It's a radio show where I've been talking, consistently and repeatedly about, don't wait till Christmas to get a puppy. If you really want a puppy, get one now. Like, don't lean into that, red ribbon Lexus commercial that you see, like at Christmas time every year, that
Don't fall for the advertising.
Right. Or that attaches and, here's my main idea, that attaches a sentient being to that. It's one thing to buy somebody a car for Christmas, right? Like Lexus does this. Exactly.
A thing.
Right.
Yes.
Lexus does this every year for as long as I can remember.
And they're getting better and better at it.
You ready? You ready? It's the Lexus Christmas season event. Show the person
Lexus.
you love that you love them with the purchase of a Lexus this year, right? Like that happens every year.
Did you do that just so that Lexus hears it and wants to hire you for voiceovers?
Let's go. I'll make that money.
Guys and girls, excuse me. When y'all see Lexus as an advertisement here, understand
you're welcome.
you just did that.
Anyway, but the point is this, right? Is like, don't worry about, getting a gift for somebody and making it a dog,
and
that
your
should,
point
again, be
to
a collective decision.
A sentient being, right?
Yeah.
A sentient being. This dog, we are not.
This is so good. By the way.
I am a fan. We have not talked about it yet, but yeah, no, I love it. It's got a different taste to it than like a normal whiskey.
Those of you listening, what I'm going to share with you is, I just looked in the camera and was like, oh my God, this is good. Right. So
I am a fan.
If you're listening to this and not watching it, just know that, I had a brief, moment of, overwhelmed satisfaction with Dead Guy whiskey from Rogue Spirits.
Yeah, no, it was, I felt it. Well,
yeah.
What the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about giving gifts of dogs. So let's not do that.
And okay. And so that's one of the things I tell people all the time. Mm-hmm. This is not a car.
It's
right? We are not tuning up a car. This dog has its own being. It has its own bodily autonomy. It has its own thoughts.
My favorite thing on this topic, the way that I express this to people, right, is I look at folks and I'm like, hey man, I don't lay down in training dogs. I don't lay down lines of code. This isn't the internet. This isn't an app somewhere that like I just get to upload your dog with. And they're like, oh, I know exactly how to treat myself and others now. A plus B equals
C.
Right.
No,
it
not
doesn't
always.
work that way.
Not always.
As a matter of fact, most of the time it doesn't work that way. We are building vocabulary to open up lines of communication. I really ask people all the time to look at this much more in the ilk of, in America, we think of it this way. Think about the early explorers and the way that we were taught to think about those in school, right? Where it's like, oh, they went to a place where they didn't understand the language, didn't know the language. They had to spend a lot of time figuring out the local culture, the local language in order to even understand how we could open up trade routes back and forth in the whole 9 yards, right? Like, I think of this that way. In some ways, right? We are, as dog trainers, the Pocahontas or Sacagawea of humanity to dogs, right? Where we are the translators of that language.
That makes me so happy.
Man, I'm so excited about it all the time. I love
that analogy
that you like it.
Makes me so
but
happy.
Like, we are the translators. We are those folks that bring the Prometheus, so to speak, bring fire to the masses, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are the folks that really understand what's going on in dogs and bring it.
It's such a
forward.
simple concept that it seems like one of those things you would just completely forget about. But let's really, really sit and think about what we do for a living. We teach a completely different species how to communicate with us. That is it's a task. And there is a little task. There is a science behind it. And we both use science. I tell people all the time, I am a scientist.
Listen,
right? And
nobody who's ever watched, and take this for what it is, guys. Nobody who's ever watched, and if you haven't, just go watch it. All right. Nobody who's ever watched the original Star Trek series can look at you. Okay, go watch it. But look at you and say, Uhura, who, like embodies this amazing character who was the linguist on the Starship Enterprise can say that she's not a scientist, right? She was absolutely a scientist.
Absolutely.
And she was one of the most important figures in the entire cast, right? Because like she was the person who enabled communication with alien races that we've never even heard of. She's deciphering pops and clicks and different ideas in phonics to really understand what's going on the other side of the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a lot of what we do here. Right. So like when we're looking at these ideas, right? Like I look at us a lot like, you know, these translators, right? And that helps people access the understanding. But the reality of the situation is that no matter how we look at that, right? If we're not intending communication, we're going to miss communication. And that goes back to the gifted dog idea, right? Because like the reality of the situation is the intention for communication, in my mind, is just as important as the communication ever happened.
I agree.
Right.
You are building a relationship with this dog, right? In the same sense that you are.
Can I just stop you for a second? I'm sorry. I don't mean to do this regularly,
I don't mind
like,
it at all.
But like, hear me out. Say that again. You're building what with a dog?
You're building a relationship, right? It is a relationship. You both have a part in it. You both have a job in it in the same way that you have a job in your relationship with your wife and with your son, right?
Right.
And so in the same sense that I have a relationship with my daughters, they have their own autonomy. They have their own thoughts and they have their own feelings. And I want them to be the people that they are, the women that they are and they can be.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I am in charge of this relationship until they turn 18.
Right. And then you sit in the back seat really quick.
And for a dog, I am in charge of this relationship. And yes, we both have a part in it. But when it comes down to it, I'm in charge. And so to be the leader of that relationship, you have to understand what they have to offer, what you have to offer.
But let's not get that confused with this alpha dominance idea that's been kicked around for a long time.
That is not at all what I'm saying.
That's not what you're saying, right?
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
I just want to remind folks, right? Because like, hey, take it for what it is. Being in charge doesn't mean that you're a dick.
That is not an alpha. No.
Right?
An
it
alpha
doesn't mean that you're a dick.
Maybe we'll have a show about what is a true
I think we may,
alpha,
right?
Maybe,
but like let's not confuse this with, you know, being domineering, right? Let's not confuse this with being controlling. Let's be specific about the idea that building relationship is a mutually beneficial idea. You know, it's not just, I made a recent friend, you know, that I'm actually really excited to hang out with. Right.
I feel like you just like rubbing that in when you make new friends.
You know what, dude? I will happily introduce you to my friend, but like I made a new friend, at a wedding that I officiated, but that's another story, right? But I made a new friend who has asked me to read this book, and I've been reading this book so that we can have dinner and talk about the book, right? Interesting, right? But the reality of the situation is the essence of relationship is a mutually beneficial kind of collaboration between entities, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's a really important idea to me, is that like dogs are in a mutually beneficial relationship with us. And people who are like, oh, I love my dog, right? And I love everything that my dog brings to the table to you know, ping back on lifestyle, to ping back on some of these purpose ideas, right? I love all these things my dog brings to the table, but it's a purely selfish endeavor. We probably need to look at that. You know, we probably need to dig in that.
That may kind of lead us right into the last of the three topics: desire, right? My desire. Not everybody.
What do I want?
Most people, you know, I really, really love a dog about this color.
Oh,
I don't know why.
You like a whiskey colored dog?
I love
big surprise,
whiskey
guys.
Color.
Hey, news just in. Chris loves dogs. The color of liquor. Let's go.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, that was a little bit rude.
Okay, it was a little reductionist. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Maybe accurate.
But also, but like true. That's a great, beautiful dog.
We meet people all the time, right? Like
that's what I would call a chestnut color. That would be the base color of my dog. For the record.
I love a red dog. Sonny was red. Spartacus was red.
Sure.
Some of my past dogs. Right. I actually had a house full of red dogs. I had a Bentley who was a Rhodesian Ridgeback.
A Ridgeback. How beautiful.
Oh my God, it's I'll show you pictures.
No dermal sinus though, right?
Not at all. No, he was,
Okay,
oh
great.
my God,
I
he
love
was
that.
brilliant. Boxer who was red and a little sheepdog, oddly enough, right?
Really?
Oddly enough.
A red sheepdog.
Red sheepdog. She's still there. She's one of my favorite dogs I've trained in a long time. Anyway,
How cool.
I really prefer red dogs just out of preference.
My
right?
first bulldog was a red dog.
Ooh.
His name was Ajax. He was fantastic.
I want to see a picture.
Yeah.
My sister's 2 years younger than me, I believe. Since we were 10, she's always wanted a Great Dane. Always. And when she got out of nursing school, she got her first job and she got her first Great Dane.
Oh, okay.
Harper. And it has been one of the best dogs of all time.
Sure.
Right. But the key, we talk about like the three things about dog ownership, right? If you have that desire to have a Great Dane,
right,
for example,
I've always wanted one, so I should
just make sure that it fits into the first two.
Yeah, make sure it fits your lifestyle and your purpose. Does the dog
that you desire fit into your lifestyle? 100%. And does their purpose fit into your lifestyle? Do they play together, right? If you've always grown up wanting a Malinois, right? They're beautiful. I love them. I want one.
One of my best friends grew up with that idea. He became a Malinois breeder.
But it can also go the opposite way, right? If you're not honest with yourself, if you don't have the lifestyle, and if that lifestyle doesn't match up with your purpose, but you still have that desire to get one, it can lead to just setting yourself up for failure.
I would agree. If you're not honest about who you are, the time, space, and devotion that you have to give, who's going to care for the dog, what the breed type is, what that idea is, right? Like, what's that breed type for? What was that dog bred for? If you don't consider how that dog then is going to fit into your family life, right? In a collective decision that also takes into account boundaries and, not necessarily gifting dogs, right? All those things I think really lend heavily into this idea of like, what does your desire do for itself? I want a Corvette, but I need a pickup truck.
And so what you're talking about is kind of getting together with your family, as we've talked about, and setting some criteria, right? Oh, I want a Corvette. Dude, you have 3 kids.
Cool
you
beans.
Don't need a Corvette.
Yeah, I love that I love that you want a 2-seater
right,
roadster.
That's fantastic. Right? You'll retire one day and you can get a Corvette.
You may be able to do that.
Great.
But the reality of the situation is between now and then, we can't put the Gerber seat in the back of this bad boy. So, honey, what are you going to do with that Corvette? This is a wife talking to her husband. I'm already here. What are you going to do with that Corvette now? You know what I mean? Same idea here. In dogs, right? Like, what are you going to do with that Corvette? For sure.
So yeah, I think that when you get down to the crux of what we're talking about today, I think it's important to match your desires, right? Because what you want is very important.
Agreed.
I don't want to downgrade that at all.
I'm not going to minimize it.
I love a brown dog, and even though there might be a white dog that would be a better fit for me, I like that red color. And so that is important.
Agreed.
But make sure that you're setting some criteria as far as what you have to offer, the time, 100%. The space you have to offer, what your family is going to offer, right?
Yep.
And what that dog has to offer to you.
Yeah.
Because we talk about what the dog not fitting in. What if you don't fit with that dog? And that's a very rare thing, right? Human beings and dogs are very adaptable creatures. We've lived together for a long time. But if you and your dog want different things, there's going to be a conflict.
Right? If you want to lay on the couch and your dog wants to go 10 hours,
if your dog enjoys just chewing on hair and running.
We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but let me take a minute to break this out in a way that a lot of folks are probably going to resonate with. You ready for this?
Go for it.
So there's a difference between an American field version Labrador Retriever and an English Labrador Retriever.
Oh, 1,000%.
An American field version Labrador Retriever wants to go.
We want to talk about the silver labs.
They're like we don't want to talk about silver labs because those are Weimaraner crosses. Nobody can convince me different. But like, we want to talk about like, hey, this is a black lab that's an American field version idea, right? And his idea all day long, every day is let me go get the bird. Let me 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 get the bird. Do you want the bird? I want the bird. I want the bird.
All that's
Do you want to
going
go get the bird? I want to go get the bird. I want to swim. Do you want to swim? I want to swim. I want to swim all day. Right? Like if that's not the dog you want.
And listen, and that is a very accurate depiction.
Yeah.
If you have one of these dogs, that's a very accurate depiction of what is going on.
Right. And if you don't want that dog, right, then, and you want a Labrador, right, you should be looking at an English line Labrador, right? I've known so many of these English labs and they're fantastic dogs. And these are definitely kind of, they're not speciation. But they're nuance and breed type is the way that I would describe it, right? These English bred Labradors are thicker, lower to the ground, just like English Bulldogs, right? Thicker, lower to the ground, and also kind of chill, right? So like I've trained, I'm kind of like a multitude of these dogs over the years, especially the American field version, because like the American field version is that thing that people get that they're like, oh, this is a Labrador. Well, where did you get it? Well, I got it from this guy that hunts that hunts birds or hunts ducks all day. And I'm like, in what realm did you think that dog was going to fit in your house?
Yeah.
Here's a dog who legitimately, by your own admission, wants to jump off a boat.
Just wants to go run and chase.
Wants to jump off a boat, swim at least 100 yards out across a lake, grab a bird in his mouth, and swim back to give it to you, right? At what point did you think that dog was going to chill out on your couch? Mm-hmm. Right.
And what makes you think that a mile-long walk after he's been sitting in the kennel while you're at work all day is going to be enough?
Not going to work. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, your desire does not necessarily, and this is probably the biggest thing that I can say today, right, is that whatever criteria in your desire that you have developed in your mind does not necessarily bring about the creation of an animal that fits your desire.
Yeah. I mean, get the dog you want. Just make sure it's a smart fit.
We say this all the time in dog training, right? Leave your ego where? At the door. Let's go. Right? Leave your ego at the door, because the reality of the situation is that the thing you want is not often what you get, right? The thing that you think to yourself, oh man, I gotta have a dog that does XYZ things, whatever those things. Hold on. I got this guy. We're going to slide him in there. I got one for you too. Believe it or not.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I'm here for you, brother. But whatever that is that's going on, right? Don't think that your desire equals the reality of owning whatever dog that is. And that's probably really important to state, right? That like your desire, it's really interesting. So those of you who've been watching this for a minute realize that like he's got a Juris Doctorate. I'm actually a theologian, as it turns out, right? And one of the things that Judeo-Christianity says is that your anger does not produce the righteousness of God. What I will tell you is that your desire, likewise.
We're gonna go spiritual.
Yeah, come on, get
ready,
me, right?
Okay. But like my third glass.
Like,
I'm ready.
we're in, bro. We're down the rabbit hole, right? But like okay, hold on. I can't cheers and not. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Almost back. Anyway. Your specific desire does not therefore create the animal that matches it, right?
Yeah.
And so just because I want something doesn't mean that I get to have it.
And I'll go one little step further before we get to like closing it out here. Mm-hmm. There's a very, very big difference between what you want and what you need, right? And dogs are the same way. And that's kind of I guess we could kind of think about that and what we've talked about today.
Agreed.
Is there's a very, very big difference between what your dog needs from you and what your dog needs in life and what your dog wants.
I agree.
And coupled with what you need from your dog and what you want from your dog. And you have to kind of match all these together. And honestly, all of my dogs I've ever gotten, I've always gone to the shelter and gotten, right? And so we talk about all of these ideas and to make it a little bit easier. Proactivity helps a whole lot. But if you're in that situation where you're like, hey, I'm going to go get a dog, put a little thought into it, right? Yeah. Just do 10 minutes of research.
Listen,
do 15 minutes of real, like, Chris searching, Evan searching, person searching and saying, okay, who am I?
Yeah.
What do I need from this dog?
Listen, I've dug in on this.
That's what I want you to understand.
Yeah, I've dug in on this and I can give some people some like resources. You ready for this? So you want to know where your dog is coming from, what their breed connotes, right? Like, so like, what does their breed really bear out in life, right? Feel free to like hang out with AKC.org.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
AKC.
Go over to the American Kennel Club, do your breed research, figure out what's going on, right? If your breed is not encompassed there, right? Find the registry for your dog, right? So like maybe you got a bully, right? Probably the best like source of information for bullies today, right? And bully people know who they are, right? So like, you know, everything from like, a Boston Terrier all the way out to, you know, like a double XL bully. Like, we saw so famously a couple of years ago with Hulk, the largest pit bull in the world, kind of an idea, right? Go to ABKC, right? So American Bully Kennel Club, right? You want a dog like Evan, right? No problem, right? Like, I get it. I'm cool. I get it. You want a Pacific Bulldog? Go hang out with ABKC, go hang out with PBKC, right? Like those guys are Pacific Bulldog Kennel Club and American Bully Kennel Club, respectively, right? They show in both places. You want an American Pit Bull Terrier, right? American Pit Bull Terriers, by the way, don't hang out with American Kennel Club, but they do hang out with Continental Kennel Club. They do hang out with United Kennel Club, right? And so like go look at these kennel clubs
and just get an idea of what they have to offer.
Right. And dig into their breed histories and figure out who they are.
Absolutely. Final thoughts on this whiskey.
Final thoughts on this whiskey are, man, this whiskey is really, really good. And now I'm like a smidge sloshed. You guys are going to figure this out. Like, take this for what it is. You guys are going to figure this out in every episode that we designed this to be fairly informal. And we designed this so that our, how do I want to say this?
We're doing what we want to do and just recording it.
Right. But our political notions also kind of fall away. Right. So like, I'm not being a politician here. I'm not thinking about all the things that, you know, one might think of whenever they're putting a product out, right?
I might still be a politician one day.
Let's go.
We'll see.
Not me. Anyway, but the point is, right, is like, you're going to find out that we get sloshed from time to time, especially when filming. So like
kind of the point.
We start out with better ideas. We end with iffy ideas sometimes, but take this for what it is.
Hopefully
in the comments, and this is the reality, right? In the comments, feel free to ask those questions. We're going to start answering those questions from the comments in the beginning of sessions, right?
And that's
so that we're not so far down the rabbit hole.
That's a good point too, is we want to talk about what y'all want to hear.
And the other idea is this, right? Is that like, I can now give a fervent thumbs up to Rogue Spirits with Dead Guy Whiskey and be like, yo, you know what, man, that's a fantastic whiskey. I've really enjoyed it. And we've had a great time talking about wolves. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm a little drunk and with 10 out of 10.
Hey, solid answers. Hey guys, listen, I'm going to wrap this up today. My name is Evan Stewart. This is Chris Lamy. Thank you for joining us at Whiskey and Wolves. You know, hang out with us next time. And also really do consider these three criteria for choosing your next dog or choosing a great dog for you, right? Lifestyle, purpose, and desire. Stick with us and always like, subscribe, and share. Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much. And we'll see you next time here on Whiskey and Wolves. Up top. That's the slowest high five in history.
God.
You're welcome.
My body hurts. I love you guys.